I want you to stop right now, wherever you are, and think about the quietest part of your day. For many of us, that moment of profound silence and deep connection happens right when the sun is gone, when the scent of clean laundry and sleepy dust fills the air, and you are tucking a child into bed.
That is when the most honest questions get asked, the ones that carry the true weight of a young, developing soul. Tonight, I want to tell you about Clara and her mother, Sarah, and the single, simple question that defined their evening ritual. This is about confronting the unknown, not with a shield, but with a loving hand.
Clara was 5, a whirlwind of boundless energy during the day, but come 7:30, when the lamp was dimmed to a soft, warm glow, her little shoulders would tense just slightly beneath the weight of her favorite patchwork quilt. Her golden brown teddy bear, Barnaby, was always clutched tight under her chin, and every single night, after the last sip of water and the final adjustments of the blanket, Clara would tilt her head up toward her mother, her blue eyes wide and searching, and she would ask the same question, the fear a tiny tremor in her small voice. She would whisper, "Mom, what if tomorrow is scary?" Sarah would sit on the edge of the bed, the worn, familiar cotton smelling faintly of lavender and childhood. She never dismissed the question, never hurried to say, "Oh, don't be silly, tomorrow will be fine," because Sarah knew that to Clara, the fear was real. Tomorrow could hold anything: a pop quiz, a broken toy, a strange new kid on the playground, or the simple, overwhelming feeling of being asked to do something she didn't know how to do yet. The future, for a child, is the ultimate frontier, and every single day is the next voyage into the wild unknown. Tonight, however, Sarah didn't just offer a hug. She reached over to the bedside table and picked up a slightly worn, thick storybook, the one with the deep blue cover that felt like soft velvet. She looked down at Clara, whose small features were anxiously gathered, and she smiled a reassuring, patient smile, the kind that promised warmth and safety. "Clara," Sarah began, her voice low and melodic, "we're not going to guess what tomorrow holds. We're going to prepare for it. We're going to remember the story of Lily. Have you met Lily yet?" Clara shook her head slightly, her gaze now fixed on the old blue book, Barnaby forgotten for a moment. Sarah opened the book to a page that had no pictures, just a dedication, and she began to tell the story of a little girl who was just like Clara, a little girl who carried the weight of tomorrow's possibilities, good and bad, on her small shoulders. This little girl was named Lily, and Lily was the kind of child who loved things to be predictable. She loved Tuesdays, because Tuesdays were always pizza day at the cafeteria. She loved walking the same route home because she knew exactly where the cracked sidewalk was and where the big, friendly maple tree stood. But tomorrow was never predictable, and the future was Lily's greatest fear. Every time her teacher announced a new project, every time her mother mentioned meeting a new neighbor, Lily felt a knot twist tight in her stomach. It wasn't that she was afraid of failing, not exactly. She was afraid of the trying itself, of the possibility of discomfort, of the necessary effort of stepping outside the warm circle of what she already knew. The first big challenge Lily faced was the move to a new school. Her family hadn't moved far, but the school was massive, built of intimidating red brick and smelling overwhelmingly of disinfectant and fresh floor wax. When Lily stood at the main doors on the first day, she felt her breath catch. The sounds of hundreds of children moving, laughing, and calling out to each other was like a physical wave, threatening to swallow her whole. Her old school had been small, cozy, and every face was familiar. Here, every hallway stretched out like a cavern, and every face was a stranger. She gripped her backpack strap so tightly her knuckles went white, and she felt the familiar pull to run back to the car, to hide under the blanket of safety she knew at home. Sarah paused here, tracing a pattern on Clara's hand. "Do you know what the hardest part of that moment was for Lily, sweetie?" Clara shook her head.
It was the choice. The choice between staying paralyzed by fear, standing completely still on the curb, or the agonizing effort of lifting one foot and placing it forward, just one step, through those big, intimidating doors. Lily chose the step. It was not a confident, swinging stride. It was a shaky, hesitant drag of her little sneaker on the asphalt. But she moved. Once inside, the fear didn't vanish. It simply changed texture. Now it was the fear of being lost, the fear of eating lunch alone, the fear of misunderstanding the teacher's instructions. Lily found her classroom, a quiet little pocket in the roaring building, but when it was time for recess, she froze again. All the other kids seemed to already know each other. They were organizing games of tag and whispering secret jokes. Lily stood near the fence, feeling invisible and painfully conspicuous all at once. Her stomach was churning so badly she couldn't even look up. And then she saw it. A small kitten, gray and striped, had somehow wandered onto the edge of the playground and was looking thoroughly confused and scared by the loud noises. It was shivering beneath a bush. The other children were too engaged in their games to notice, or perhaps they simply didn't care. But Lily, who felt so scared herself, saw the fear reflected in the little animal's eyes. She knew what it was like to be lost and overwhelmed. Lily took a deep breath. She didn't think about the dozens of strange kids who might be watching her. She thought about the tiny, frightened creature. Slowly, carefully, she walked toward the bush. She lowered herself gently and stretched out her hand, not to grab the kitten, but just to offer a steady presence. She whispered soft words, the kind of reassurances her mother often gave her. The kitten hesitated, then tentatively crept out and rubbed its head against Lily's fingers. For that moment, holding that small, trembling body, Lily wasn't thinking about her own fear of the new school. She was thinking about courage, not as the absence of fear, but as the willingness to act in the service of something else, something vulnerable, something that needed her. A teacher noticed Lily with the kitten, and together they carefully took it to the front office to call animal control. But in the process of explaining what she had done, Lily spoke to the teacher, and then another student came over to ask about the kitten, and suddenly, Lily wasn't the invisible girl by the fence anymore. She was Lily, the brave girl who saved the kitten. When she sat down to lunch that day, she didn't sit alone. A girl named Chloe, who loved animals, asked if she could join her. "The lesson there, Clara," Sarah explained softly, "is that the courage needed to face a scary tomorrow often comes when you stop focusing on your own discomfort and look outward. When you step up, even with shaky knees, for something that matters, your own fears shrink just a little." But Lily's journey wasn't over. Life, as we know, keeps throwing new scenarios at us. A few months later, there was the annual school talent show. Lily, who had a lovely, clear singing voice, desperately wanted to participate. Her music teacher encouraged her, and she practiced diligently. Her piece was a sweet, slightly complicated folk song about the changing seasons. Everything went perfectly in practice. However, the night of the show arrived and the auditorium was packed. The curtain was velvet red, thick and heavy, and when she walked onto the stage, the sudden wash of bright, hot spotlights blinded her. All she could see beyond the light was a massive, dark void. The audience. Hundreds of silent, watching eyes. Stage fright hit her like a physical blow. Her throat tightened, her hands began to sweat, and she forgot the first 4 lines of her song instantly. The music teacher, seated just off stage, signaled encouragingly, but the words were trapped. The silence stretched. It felt like an hour, though it was probably only 10 seconds. Lily wanted to cry, to flee, to disappear through the floorboards. This was the epitome of a scary tomorrow. She hadn't just tried and failed. She hadn't even been able to begin. Then she remembered something her father had told her about riding her bike. If you fall down,
the most important thing is simply to get back on. Not because you'll pedal perfectly right away, but because you prove to yourself that falling isn't the end of the ride.
With a ragged intake of breath that sounded loud and harsh in the microphone, Lily swallowed her tears. She looked at the teacher again, nodded once, and she started the song not at the beginning, but right where she knew the lyrics, the chorus. She skipped the intro verse entirely. It wasn't the perfect performance. She missed a note in the second stanza, and her voice wavered throughout.
But she kept singing. She finished the song, every syllable ringing out, slightly imperfect, but complete. When the last note faded, there was a moment of silence, and then the applause roared. It wasn't polite applause. It was a loud, warm, recognizing ovation. People weren't clapping because it was flawless. They were clapping because they had seen a little girl confront the crushing weight of public fear and choose to continue anyway. "Courage, my Clara," Sarah murmured, stroking her daughter's hair, "is often the messiest thing. It's when you sing the chorus, even though you forgot the first verse. It's when you keep your legs moving, even though they are shaking. It's the action you take when you are scared out of your mind, proving that fear is just a feeling, not a commander." Lily grew up facing many more scary tomorrows. There was the time she tried out for the soccer team, knowing she wasn't the best player, but wanting the challenge. She didn't make the A team, but she didn't quit. She joined the recreational league, choosing effort over immediate success. There was the time she had a terrible misunderstanding with her best friend, Maya, and the easy choice was to let the friendship fizzle out, because confronting Maya was terrifying. The conversation would be difficult, emotional, and possibly painful. But courage isn't just about big public moments. It's about the small, terrifying risk of emotional vulnerability. Lily called Maya, sat her down, and with a lump in her throat, she apologized for her own missteps and explained her perspective honestly, even though she was terrified of Maya's reaction. Maya, seeing Lily's bravery in being so vulnerable, apologized too. The friendship was saved, stronger than before, built on the bedrock of honest, courageous communication. Sarah closed the blue book gently, resting it on Clara's chest. The light in the room seemed softer now, the story's warmth lingering in the air. "You see, Clara, tomorrow might be scary. It might be challenging. It might ask you to step through big red doors, or to sing when you feel speechless, or to have a tough, honest conversation when you'd rather run and hide. But the story of Lily teaches us that courage isn't something you find under your pillow. It's something you decide to use." Sarah moved closer, tucking the quilt tightly around Clara's small frame, a gesture that felt like wrapping her in protection. And here is the most important part, the part that separates the solitary, brave journey of a storybook character from the real life of my Clara. Sarah leaned in, meeting her daughter's gaze with absolute sincerity. Lily had to find her courage alone in that story, but you, my love, never have to face tomorrow alone. Never. No matter what tomorrow brings, whether it's a difficult test, a scraped knee, or a moment where your feelings are simply too big for your little body to hold, I will always be here. I will always be the listener. I will always be the hugger. If you fall, I will help you up. If you forget your words, I will remind you how strong your voice is. If you feel like running away, I will simply hold your hand and help you take that one step forward. This was the core of Sarah's message, the classical, fundamental promise of the American family structure. Love is the foundation from which independence springs. We teach our children to be pioneers, to meet the frontier with hope, but we assure them that the home fire is always burning brightly behind them. The source of strength isn't just internal grit. It's the unwavering, unconditional love that anchors them to a safe harbor. I won't promise you tomorrow won't be hard, Clara, Sarah continued, running her fingers through her daughter's soft, dark hair. Sometimes hard things happen,
and sometimes new things feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. We are built to learn and to grow, and growth is almost always a little bit scratchy and awkward, but we will face it together. Your job is simply to try. My job is to love you, to support you, and to remind you of all the incredible courage you already carry inside you. Clara remained silent for a long moment, processing the expansive tale of Lily and the gentle, grounding promise of her mother. The anxiety that had been tightening her little jaw seemed to melt away, replaced by a soft, warm certainty. She didn't need tomorrow to be easy. She needed the assurance that she was equipped for the challenge and that failure wouldn't lead to abandonment. The fear of the unknown receded because the certainty of love had taken its place. She tightened her hold on Barnaby again, a contented sigh escaping her lips. She closed her eyes, the soft light of the lamp painting her face in quiet gold.
Before slipping into sleep, Clara spoke, her voice the merest, lightest whisper, a tiny declaration of peace and emerging confidence. I think tomorrow will be okay. And that, friends, is the victory. It wasn't the promise of an easy day. It was the realization of inner strength combined with external, unwavering support.
The brave tomorrow is not the one without shadows, but the one approached with hope, knowing that love provides the light by which we find our path. This beautiful, simple interaction, this nightly ritual of facing down the darkness with the light of a story, is a testament to the power of parental reassurance, a love that fuels true emotional growth, and the courage to meet the next day, whatever its form. We are raising a generation that needs to understand that being brave doesn't mean standing unafraid in the face of a challenge. It means hearing the fear, acknowledging it, and stepping forward anyway, because you know you are loved and you are capable. It means having the hope to face the future, not just accepting the unknown, but embracing it as the opportunity for the next great act of courage. If this story resonated with you, if you recognize the struggle of 5-year-old Clara or the wisdom of her mother Sarah, I encourage you to pause tonight when you are tucking your own loved ones in. Don't just wish them sweet dreams. Ask them about their scary tomorrows, and then tell them a story of courage. Remind them that they are loved, they are capable, and they are never, ever alone in the face of the great wide world. Share this story if it touched your heart, and subscribe to our channel for more tales that anchor us to the essential truths of love and resilience. We all need that gentle reminder that our strongest tomorrow is built on the love we share tonight.